Imagine dancing. Dancing in March. Not just any dance, but the big dance. I'm talking about the NCAA men's basketball tournament, which is known as the Big Dance and March Madness. This tournament is a single elimination of 68 teams competing in 7 rounds for the national championship. The first March Madness basketball tournament was in 1939 and has been held every year since. The term March Madness was first used to refer to basketball in the state of Illinois by a high school official, Henry Porter. The term was first used when CBS broadcaster Brett Musburger used it during his coverage of the tournament in 1982. There are two ways you can earn a bid for the Big Dance: an automatic bid or an at-large bid. The 32 conference champions will receive automatic bids. From there, the selection committee will determine the 36 at-large bids that have the best resume. As an avid sports fan, March Madness is the time of the year that I look forward to right when it ends. Right when the tournament ends, I immediately start a countdown to when the next one will start. This is one of the best times of the year as there's non-stop constant action for a 3-week period. The tournament is always full of surprises, and that's why it makes it so great. March Madness is the time of the year when people gather together and fill out their brackets to compete to have the best one. Billions and billions of dollars are gambled during this tournament, which makes for some very tense moments. The opening round of March Madness sees 16 games being played on both Thursday and Friday. These 2 days are the most action-packed as there are games on for 12 straight hours, which is simply crazy. There are many great things about March Madness. Really, the one that sticks out in my mind is that the underdog is king. The tournament starts out with 68 teams. Some of the teams are small Division I schools that you may have never heard of. When a lower seed upsets a big team such as Michigan State or Tennessee or Michigan in the first round, they are known as the Cinderella team. This is just like we saw with Loyola of Chicago this year, and here are a few highlights to show that.
Here they come. One timeout, they don't take it. March Madness magic as the Ramblers from Loyola Chicago moving on. Their first NCAA tournament victory in 33 years. Here comes the player of the year, the MVC rises. Oh, got it! And the dream is alive! Loyola rambling on to the Sweet 16! Custer, crossover, kicks it. Towns for three. Yes! Focus Towns! Game after game after game for the Ramblers. Somebody is hitting the big shot late. Loyola Chicago moving on to the Elite Eight.
Even though Loyola's run came to an end against Michigan in the Final Four, this was truly one of the greatest stories March Madness has seen in a while. This is just a fun team to watch and follow throughout the tournament. Even though they busted many brackets, it was still a fun ride. What makes March Madness so great is that all 40 minutes of every game are played with high intensity, which keeps you glued to your TV. As you can see with those buzzer beaters, they're very exciting to watch. The topic of March Madness is a very important one. People realize and understand what the tournament is, but something they do not realize is what is it like to be a player during this time. These student athletes can miss up to 3 weeks of school, and how do they manage that? What if someone gets severely hurt? Does the school help them get back to full health? Millions and millions of dollars are brought into universities during this time. Is it time for these student athletes to get a share of that? These are all questions that must be answered. March Madness is a very stressful time of the year for student athletes. Many people don't realize what it's like to be behind the scenes during this tournament, and people only think that these players play the games. But what happens behind the scenes? In an article written by Anthony Chisano with NCAA.com, he discusses just that. At the end of the day, these students are also student athletes, and they have an obligation to complete their work. A quote by University of Dayton senior on the basketball team, he states, The older guys try to keep the younger guys focused and on top of their work when it comes down to tournament time. At the end of the day, for most of us, basketball is everything, but we still need to get that education. It's very harder in this time because if a team makes a run, they could be away from campus for over 3 weeks, and universities bring along academic coordinators to make sure that when they're not on the court, they're getting some of their work done. But it is tough to get all of their work done. Another quote by University of Miami senior Devon Reed, he states, essentially, this is a time of season that we prepare for all season. Once we get here, it's harder to focus on school because it's such an important time basketball-wise. But still, as a student athlete, you have to balance both. Devon Hall, a redshirt junior for the University of Virginia, states, it's chaotic, it's hectic, it's a quick turnaround, it's a lot of stress. But at the same time, it's one of the most special times of your life. It's an atmosphere and experience that you can't describe unless you've been to it, and you have to experience it fully. This statement just shows that these athletes are really focused on the game of basketball, and it's hard for them to focus on being a student athlete. Now, what happens if a player gets hurt during this tournament run? As we saw a few years ago with Kevin Ware, who, if you're not familiar with him, he was a player on the University of Louisville, playing in the national championship game, who snapped his leg and his bone came out of his knee. It's a very gross video. I don't recommend watching it. But this is a case where a player got hurt during March Madness. He had the proper recovery at Louisville, but his playing time went away. So therefore, he had to transfer to Georgia State, where he is now playing for them. And this just shows how tough it really is being a college athlete. It's really just the next man up style. A player like Kevin Ware got hurt. He's a starting guard for the University of Louisville, but he gets hurt. He's going to be out for the year, and they keep bringing in guys, so he's going to lose his time. That's why he ultimately had to transfer. The last topic that I'm going to bring up today is, should these athletes be getting paid? March Madness brings in millions and millions of dollars to these universities, and I think that these athletes should be getting a cut of that. There are many pros and cons to paying college athletes, and that needs to be worked out how the NCAA would handle that. But it's time where I think that these athletes deserve to be paid. This has been a big topic at the forefront of the sports world, and there are many pros and cons to doing this. So we will see what happens, but it's time for them to be getting paid. In the end, March Madness is huge for college sports and the NCAA. It is huge for generating revenue, for cities who host games, and for the TV rights and deals. March Madness is a great time of the year, but as you can see, if players get injured, they have a lot of work to do, and should they be getting paid? These are questions that need to be answered and worked out. Thank you for watching.